So welcome to the LexisNexis Legal Talk podcast series. I'm Greg Dickason. I'm the Managing Director for LexisNexis across Asia and the Pacific. And I'm very happy to have both Jamie Buckley and Jeff Reihl here. Jamie Buckley is our Chief Product Officer globally, and Jeff Reihl is our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer. So welcome, Jamie and Jeff. I might just jump straight in because this is all about generative AI. And I have the first question to you, Jamie. So product-wise, we've launched Lexis AI in the US. It's also, I believe, soon to come out in the UK, Canada, and France. And of course, in Australia, we're very excited about it.
Yeah.
So what is special about Lexis AI?
Yeah, so everybody has heard of Gen AI. Everybody has played around with Gen AI. Lexis AI is our generative AI product. And so it's been built from the ground up around generative AI. We were very early to experiment and implement a product. There's 4 primary use cases for Lexis AI. The first one is the ability to ask a complex legal research question. So Gen AI is really good at that. Second one is drafting a legal document. This is an amazing use case for Gen AI. It was really hard to do that before. Just from a simple prompt, you could have a draft of a legal document, which is really cool. The third scenarios around summarizing long documents. So this is around like case law documents, for example. Then the fourth one is provides our customers the ability to upload a document and then ask a question about it or summarize it, et cetera. So Lexis AI is built around those 4 use cases all around the world.
And as you were saying, the ability to summarize or draft a document, that's a particular skill of generative AI.
Yeah, so that part, so the generative part, so generating text, so drafting it, is great at that. What we found in the US that most of the questions are around the legal research area because Gen AI, it's number one, it's really good at generating text, but it's also really good at analyzing documents and kind of our content. And so understanding the user's question, understanding our content, and then applying it to that. So really good at both.
That's brilliant. So Jeff, how long have we been doing AI?
Well, the reality is we've been doing AI for well over a decade. Really started with some basic NLP type capabilities and some machine learning. But in 2018, when Google published the BERT papers, when we really started experimenting more with the generative AI type technologies. And that was the original transformer architecture that came out. And since then, we've been experimenting with GPT-2 when it originally came out, and GPT 3.0 when it came out, and we actually started integrating GPT into our capabilities back when GPT 3.0 came out. And so we've been experimenting with this for quite some time. But I would say that everything really changed when ChatGPT came out, because as Jamie mentioned, that's when the generative capabilities and the multi-turn type question and answer really started coming out. And that fundamentally kind of shifted our focus in this area. And then obviously GPT 3.5, GPT 4, and then we started experimenting with Anthropic's Claude models. And so a tremendous amount of investment on our side and focus in this area. But, to answer your original question, for well over a decade.
And you can see that in some of our products before we even got to Lexis AI launching. We've got Argument Analyzer, for example, which I think uses GPT-3, and that's been well received, especially in litigation use cases.
Yeah, I would say originally when we started playing with NLP and machine learning, it was more behind the scenes. But when the GPT models started coming out, it really was much more in the front focus for some of the new features that we've come out with.
It's amazing. And the state of the art is just moving so fast.
That is right. And we're all keeping up with it. It's changing every day.
And I suppose from that perspective, what are customers saying? Are they saying wait and see, or what's happening in the US? Are they saying wait and see, or are they jumping on and trying to use large language models in different ways?
Yeah, so every customer, everyone that we've talked to has played around with something. And one of the things that they found out very early on is that ChatGPT just by itself out of the box is just not good enough for complex legal scenarios. So customers are really excited about Lexis AI. In the US, we've been seeing unprecedented demand from our customers. And so we had a lot of customers buying it even before it was available. They said, as soon as it's ready, I want it. And so we have a really big backlog of customers that that want it. And now at this point, because it's been commercially available for a while now, so now we're kind of actively deploying it across customers and in all different segments. We're getting really positive feedback.
And so I suppose a slightly more controversial question. I'll ask Jeff this one. Why can't I just, a little startup, wrap with a bit of prompting, because prompt engineering is a big thing. Just wrap GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, put a little bit of legal content and create my own solution. What's special about Lexis AI?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And one of the things that we discovered right off the bat is these large language models have a lot of limitations. Everybody's heard about hallucinations, and if it doesn't know the answer, it'll create an answer for you, and it might not be the right answer. And I think that, from a legal perspective, is a really big challenge. So you've got the hallucination issue. You've got the issue of a lot of large language models won't tell you where it actually got the answer. So do I just trust this thing knowing that a lot of those large language models were just trained with open internet-based content? The third issue is that the data isn't current. So a lot of these models are well over a year old in terms of the data that they were trained on. So if there's a current case, it's just not going to have that information. So our solution grounds all of that in our data and our content, and that's where we can address those limitations that exist with the large language models, just the foundational models that are out there.
So getting techie for a second, because I think one of the most powerful parts of our solution is the RAG model, right? Retrieval augmented generation.
Right.
What's special about that?
I think it's something that we customized ourselves specific for the legal market. So we ground it with all of our legal content. And so we've got our search engine that we use internally. We can leverage that. We can leverage our citators to make sure that whatever citation you bring forward is still good law. And so we think about large language models as another asset within our overall framework and in our platform. And so we can address, as I mentioned earlier, those limitations that are out there with large language models themselves by bringing in a lot of our data, by bringing in the capabilities that we already have as part of our platform.
So our content gives us currency, the search engine and RAG, et cetera, makes sure that we get the most relevant content.
That's correct. There's a lot more behind the scenes that's going on there. We could talk about embeddings and things like that, but we'll keep it high level here today. But the key thing there is it's customized for the legal industry, and we're taking advantage of all of these other capabilities that we've built over the years.
Brilliant. Then looking at it from a customer perspective, so when we did the rollout, we got a lot of user input, a lot of feedback from customers. Why was that so important, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, every single product that we build, we always test it with a small set of customers in the beginning. It's really important to get customer early feedback. I mean, at the end of the day, we're building all our products that we're building are to make our customers kind of work more productive for their clients, right? So we want to make sure that they're as efficient as possible. For this product in specific, it was really important to get customer feedback because it's a brand new product, brand new technology, and a lot of our customers just haven't had a lot of experience with it. And so for Lexis AI, we had what we call a commercial preview program that we kind of do for all countries, right? That we're launching in. And that one, we identified a small set of customers that were number one, very excited to use Gen AI for their own practice, but also they were very willing to give feedback on an early version of the product because by definition, the product is not ready for commercial launch because we need feedback on it. And we actually made a number of improvements of the product just within the commercial preview program. I'll just give you a couple examples. So in the US, during the time that a small number of customers were using it, we found out that uploading documents and the ability to ask questions on those documents was really important. So that was something that was always in our backlog to eventually develop, but it just increased dramatically in priority based on feedback and customers. Another thing that we saw is the importance of training as part of this, because we would see very early on, customers would type in sometimes 4 questions in one, sometimes they wouldn't specify the jurisdiction, and they were just kind of typing But over time, they kind of said, well, if you're typing in 4 questions at once, sometimes the large language model would get confused which question because you get one response. It's a long response, but it's just one response. And so sometimes it was difficult for the large language model to actually respond properly. And so we found out that if we do a little bit of training on how the product works and a little bit of training on how to create a good prompt, then it really helped improve the output, right? And obviously, we want to make this as easy as possible for our customers, but we found out that specific training was helpful, and then we continue that in the commercial rollout. So now all customers that use it, we provide training.
And the model also gives feedback when it's giving you an answer as well as a user, right? So you could sort of
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So if it, if it's important to maybe ask some clarifying questions, like that's all part of it. And we've also built in some functionality around, I mentioned jurisdiction, for example. So now you could pre-specify the jurisdiction when you're asking the question. And so all of this really helps to make sure you're getting a good response.
I did a presentation to some barristers a couple of weeks ago in New Zealand, and they said to me, it's a bit more dull than ChatGPT, but it's far more reliable. And maybe that's just the way we've tuned it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for us. So we tuned it for legal scenarios. So let's say if you're looking for, a nice restaurant to go in downtown Sydney, it's not going to be great for that. And we've actually intentionally turned that off, right? So you could use ChatGPT for that because that's, I mean, it's really a key point because the large language models that you get out of the box, they're really general purpose scenarios. So you could ask any question about anything you want. And sometimes it'll be spot on, sometimes it might not be, but it was important for us to make sure that we customize the solution as much as possible for lawyers. And that means we do a number of things with generative AI to make that happen. We talked a little bit about prompt engineering and RAG. We also do some fine tuning of the model itself, which we could talk about if you're interested. But all of this is to focus on specific legal use cases, and then we even have more tuning for for the specific use case of the 4 that I talked about early on.
Expanding a little bit, there's also a big challenge on performance. So sometimes you can ask a question of a model and it can take a very long time to answer. And I'm super impressed by our performance. We come back in a pretty quickly. So why does it take Gen AI longer to answer a question than like a standard search engine or something?
Yeah, it's just the way the technology works, because the large language models are made up of just a ton of data. And you look at something like GPT-4, although OpenAI doesn't specifically tell you how many parameters and how many documents it used to create it, it's a lot. It's on the order of 1 trillion parameters. So very, very big models. And the way that these models work is based on input data and output data. And so the processing required for these larger language models is quite significant. So performance has always been an important part of our product. So search performance, search response time is something that from a technical perspective, we've always been really, really careful with. And so when we started experimenting with different models, that was a key piece of consideration as well, is not only how good is the answer, but how fast can I get the answer back? And so we made an early decision to take a multi-model approach where based on the individual use case, the specific use cases, some of the ones that Jamie mentioned earlier, we might use different models to solve the problem based on performance and based on the quality of the answer. And so some of the use cases go to GPT-4 because it requires significant reasoning, but it is slower. Some of them go to GPT 3.5. Some of them go to Claude V2. And so that way we can tune the product and give the best performance, balancing the quality of the answer as well. So it's a key part of our architecture that we can quickly adopt different models as we go based on performance and the quality of the output. And we continue to experiment with new models as they're coming out. Claude 3 just was announced, and we're experimenting with that already. But it's really combining the quality of the output along with the performance for each of the use cases that we work with.
Which from a user's perspective is super important, right?
It's extraordinarily important because you don't want to wait 3 minutes to get an answer. And so again, we spend a lot of time trying to optimize those different use cases for both quality and performance.
So now we've launched. What are the learnings we've seen in the US in particular from our customers, especially the early adopters? What's the feedback we've got?
Yeah, so feedback overall is really positive. There's the biggest piece of feedback that we've gotten is just the time saving that we've been able to see that our customers are experiencing, especially around complex legal research and drafting documents. So I talked a little bit about that earlier. What's especially helpful they find is for legal research questions, if you look, think about Lexis Plus, so before generative AI. So you type in a natural language query and you get a bunch of documents back. And then you click on each document, you review it. Okay, maybe that's not quite what I was looking for. Then you click on the next one, and that's spot on. And it's just the whole process is time consuming. So we've helped to condense all of that with Gen AI. But it is really important for lawyers to validate, the answer, making sure that it's really exactly what they're looking for. And that's where we have citations below the answer. So it's really easy to do that. So Jeff mentioned before, if you use like ChatGPT out of the box, for example, you don't get that. And so we provide the individual links to documents to the citations that we use to generate the answer. So it's really easy for a lawyer to click on those and review that there. So we've had a lot of positive feedback about that. We've also had a lot of really positive feedback about performance. And so, we're more than twice as fast as our primary competitor, right? We've heard that feedback from our customers. And sometimes it's as much as 3 times as fast, depending on the use case. So our customers really like that. No one really wants to wait for an answer. We've also gotten really positive feedback from customers that our answers tend to be about twice as good as our major competitors. So nobody really wants to wait for an answer that's inferior. So that's, this is all feedback that we've heard from our customers that are kind of using other products.
That's super impressive. And what does that mean for us next to the roadmap? Because we're not going to rest on our laurels, right? We're going to keep going.
Yeah, we have an extremely robust roadmap. One of the early things that we did with Gen AI, as we were experimenting with it very early on, kind of in the process, especially when ChatGPT launched. And early last year, we paused a lot of other projects so that we could bring more of our teams to work on Lexis AI and Gen AI in general. There's other products that are incorporating generative AI, and some of those have already launched in the US and other countries. We're doing a lot internally, but our roadmap is very robust. So there's a lot of stuff that that's coming. I'll maybe highlight a few things. So one is, I talked about the 4 different areas before, just around asking complicated legal research questions, drafting a document, summarizing, and uploading. In all of those areas, we're doing a lot more. So each of those have sub-use cases within them, and we're expanding the number of use cases. We're also expanding the content that we go after. We're also, as you mentioned earlier, rolling this out in additional countries, right? So really excited about Australia. Then we have UK, Canada, France, as you mentioned. And then there's more countries down the line that are coming. Also, language translation is really important as part of this, right? So we're including that as well. And there's a lot of other things that we're doing. I'll maybe mention one other one. One of the most common pieces of feedback that we get from customers is they say, it's really nice that you're able to incorporate a large language model with LexisNexis. We have the biggest repository of content, really high quality content. And a lot of customers say, I would love it if you could incorporate a large language model with my content, right? With lawyer specific. And so that's also something that we're working on. And you'll hear something about that shortly.
That's super exciting. I'll wrap up then, asking one final question for both of you. If you were a corporate legal department or a law firm, how would you approach it now? Would you jump in and get a product? How would you approach this step change in how we're going to do legal research and how the legal industry is going to operate?
Yeah, I think number one, it's really important to try it out, right? And so there's just a lot of information out there, a lot of noise. And, different startups are doing things, we're doing, we are very excited about our solution, based on what we hear from our customers, it's the best in the market. And so but it's really important for lawyers to try it out, right? And so you can get a free trial anytime, right? So I would highly recommend, you try it out. I'd also, ask questions, get educated about generative AI, because like I said, there's just a lot of different companies that are doing different things in Gen AI. And it's important to try to understand what are the different ways that an answer could get better, and how does Gen AI actually work. And we have a lot of information available, objective info on our website, our marketing website, if you're interested in learning more. But understand that, let's say if there's another company out there that's just using kind of a model out of the box, really, how are they making sure that the answer is correct? What content are they actually tying it to? Also, make sure you're digging into privacy and security. That's so important for customers. We've built that in from the beginning. We make sure that the model is private and secure. None of the information that's typed in is used to train the model. None of the information leaks out to kind of other responses, right, from other users across the system. So all these are really important areas. I highly recommend to get educated and try it out. Try out Lexis AI and give us feedback.
Yeah, I on my way out to Australia, I dinner with several customers in Los Angeles, and I actually asked them, how they're thinking about it. These are large law firms in the LA area, and they're doing exactly that. A lot of them are starting with experiments. They'll start with internal evangelists and get them excited about it and really understand the benefits that they're seeing from this. So a lot of it is starting with some experimentation, trying it out, getting some feedback from internal customers, and it gave me an opportunity to hear some of their feedback early on in terms of the work that they're doing. Several of them are just trialing the product today, and a lot of the discussion was about them purchasing the product and how that rollout might happen. But I think starting with a small group, expanding from there really works exceptionally well. The other thing that did come up is around the security and privacy, and lots of concerns around that. Is my data somehow training the models? What do you guys as LexisNexis use the data for? And so we just reinforced some of the things that Jamie just mentioned. All of the work that we do are within AWS Bedrock and Microsoft Azure. We know we've worked with them for a number of years, a lot of security. We trust the work that they've done. And so that was on their mind as well, is around the privacy and security. And that's always been important to us, but even more so within this type of a product.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jamie, and welcome to Australia. Hope you have a great week here.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Really excited.